The fluorescent lights of the Pittsburgh grocery store hum like dying insects overhead. Marcus Thompson's knees press against the cold linoleum, white tiles streaked with years of scuff marks and the ghosts of 1,000 spills. His hands shake as he reaches for the scattered quarters, his fingers brushing against a nickel that's rolled beneath the register stand. The manager's Italian leather shoes, $800 easy, stand inches from his face. "This is pathetic," the voice comes from above, dripping with disgust. "You're holding up my line for what, $3 and change?" The other customers shift their weight. Someone coughs. A mother pulls her daughter closer, away from the man on the floor. Marcus's threadbare jacket, the one with the name patch torn off from his old job at the steel mill, hangs loose on his thinning frame. He doesn't look up. He can't, because in his trembling palm, beneath those scattered coins, is a crumpled prescription receipt, and the name on it isn't his. Stories like this, they live in the spaces between what we see and what we assume, in the shadows between judgment and truth. Before we pull back the curtain on Marcus's reality, I want to know, what city are you watching from tonight? Detroit? Phoenix? Somewhere small where everyone knows your name? Drop your location in the comments below. And if you believe that every story deserves to be heard in full, that dignity exists even when the world tries to strip it away, subscribe to Twisted Fate, because some truths can only be found in the darkness. Now, let's return to that grocery store floor in Pittsburgh, where a man's entire world is about to shift. 17 months earlier, Marcus Thompson had been a different man. The apartment in Lawrenceville had been small, fourth-floor walk-up, radiator that clanked through winter nights like a ghost chain dragging through the walls, but it had been theirs. His daughter Maya's drawings covered the refrigerator, stick figures holding hands, a yellow sun with a smile, the word Daddy written in crayon so thick you could feel the pressure she'd used. Every morning at 4:47 a.m., Marcus would wake to the sound of Pittsburgh's garbage trucks grinding through the pre-dawn dark. He'd dress in silence, steel-toed boots, high-vis vest, the kind of navy blue work pants that never truly get clean, and he'd stop at Maya's door, just for a moment, just to hear her breathe. The walk to the bus stop took 11 minutes. He knew because he'd counted every step on that first day, when Maya was born premature, when the hospital bills started arriving in cream-colored envelopes that seemed to multiply like roaches in the dark. At the mill, Marcus wasn't special. He wasn't the strongest or the fastest, but he was there. Every shift, every overtime call, every time someone needed a fill-in, Marcus Thompson raised his hand. The other men joked about it, called him Machine because he never said no, never complained, never missed a day. They didn't know about the pill bottles hidden in his locker, didn't know that the diagnosis had come on a Tuesday in October, when the leaves along the Allegheny River had turned the color of fire, didn't know that Maya's premature birth had damaged her heart, that she needed medication that cost more per month than Marcus made in 2 weeks. Insurance covered some, the state programs covered a little more, but that gap, that cruel, impossible gap between survival and bankruptcy, that lived on Marcus's shoulders like a second skeleton. The layoffs came in January, when Pittsburgh streets were glazed with black ice and the sky hung low and gray like a coffin lid. The HR manager, a woman with a voice like a dental drill, high and sharp and clinical, had called Marcus into her office. The fluorescent lights made her skin look greenish. She didn't look at him when she spoke. Restructuring, nothing personal, last in, first out. 47 days. That's how long Marcus searched for work. His boots wore down to nothing walking between South Side and East Liberty, handing out resumes printed at the public library on paper so thin you could almost see through it. The rejection emails came in clusters, automated, cold. We've decided to pursue other candidates. Maya's medication couldn't wait for him to be pursued. So Marcus took what he could find. Day labor in Homestead, cash-only gigs cleaning out foreclosed homes in McKeesport, night shifts at a warehouse in Monroeville, where the supervisor paid under the table and safety regulations were suggestions whispered by OSHA ghosts. The apartment in Lawrenceville disappeared first. Then the studio in Garfield. Then the room he'd rented from a woman in Wilkinsburg who smelled like menthol cigarettes and kept a baseball bat by the door. By the time Marcus and Maya ended up in the shelter on the north side, the one where the radiators didn't work and the shared bathrooms had locks that stuck, Marcus had learned to swallow his pride like broken glass.
The grocery store manager, Brian Castellano, according to his gold name badge, towers over Marcus with the kind of confidence that comes from never having to choose between food and medicine. "I'm calling security," Brian announces, loud enough for the entire checkout line to hear. "We don't tolerate this kind of—" "Dad?" The voice cuts through the store like a bell, small, frightened, 7 years old and carrying the weight of understanding too much. Maya stands at the end of the aisle, her donated winter coat, 2 sizes too big, sleeves rolled up and safety-pinned, hanging off her tiny frame. Her lips have that bluish tint they get when she's stressed, when her heart is working too hard. Brian's eyes flick to the child, then back to Marcus. His expression doesn't soften. If anything, it hardens. "Oh, so you're teaching your kid to—" "Please." Marcus's voice cracks. He's still on his knees, still gathering coins. "The pharmacy closes in 20 minutes. She needs her medication tonight. I'm not trying to cause trouble. I just need $3.47 more." A woman in the line behind them, older, maybe 60, with steel gray hair and a look that could cut diamonds, steps forward. Her hand moves to her purse. "Don't," Brian snaps at her. "This is a matter of store policy. We can't have people making scenes over keeping a child alive?" The woman's voice could freeze hell. "That's your policy?" The store goes quiet, that special kind of quiet where everyone is listening but pretending not to. Brian's face flushes red. "Ma'am, I'm going to have to ask you to—" "Here's $20. She hands the bill directly to Marcus, bypassing Brian entirely. "Get your daughter her medicine." Marcus's hands close around the 20 like it's made of light. He looks up at the woman, really looks, and sees something in her eyes. Recognition. Not of him, but of the situation. She's been here. Maybe not on this floor, but somewhere close. "Thank you," he whispers. "Don't thank me yet," she says quietly, then raises her voice. "I'm Mrs. Eleanor Hastings. I'm a reporter for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette." She pulls out her phone, aims it at Brian. "And I'd love to hear more about your store policy regarding families in crisis." Brian's confident smile evaporates like water on a hot skillet. What Eleanor Hastings discovers over the next 72 hours breaks her heart and resurrects her faith in the same breath. Marcus Thompson wasn't a deadbeat, wasn't a con artist, wasn't any of the things Brian had implied with his disgust and his Italian leather shoes. Marcus Thompson was a father who made an impossible choice. 6 months before that moment on the grocery store floor, Marcus had received 2 envelopes on the same day. The first was from Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh. Maya qualified for an experimental treatment program, cutting-edge cardiac therapy. It could strengthen her heart, give her a chance at a normal life, but it required moving to Philadelphia for 6 months, living near the hospital, constant monitoring.
The second envelope was from her mother's nursing home in Erie. Eviction notice. Medicaid had been cut. She had Alzheimer's, didn't remember his name anymore, but she was still his mother. The home cost $6,800 per month. Marcus couldn't afford both. Hell, he couldn't afford either. So he chose. He told Maya's doctors not yet on Philadelphia. He took extra shifts, sold everything he owned, and he kept her mother in that home in Erie, where at least she was clean and fed and safe, even if she didn't know who visited her every Sunday. The world saw a man who couldn't keep a job, couldn't keep an apartment, couldn't even pay for groceries without scrambling for change on the floor. The world didn't see the worn notebook in Marcus's pocket, where he tracked every penny, every pill, every impossible calculation, trying to make $400 cover $4,000 in expenses. The world didn't see him walking Maya to the public library every Tuesday and Thursday, where she could do homework in the warmth, and he could fill out job applications on the ancient computers while she read books about dragons and princesses and worlds where fathers never had to choose. Eleanor Hastings' article goes live on a Thursday morning. The headline reads, "The Hidden Dignity, One Father's Impossible Choice and the Manager Who Couldn't See It." It spreads like fire through dry grass. Pittsburgh reads it over breakfast. Philadelphia shares it by lunch. By dinner, it's trending in Cleveland, Columbus, Cincinnati, every city where people understand what it means to work yourself to nothing and still fall short. By Friday, Brian Castellano has been placed on administrative leave. The store releases a statement about sensitivity training and community values that fools exactly no one. By Saturday, Marcus's phone, a prepaid flip phone he shares with Maya, starts ringing. Job offers, real ones, a construction company in Bloomfield, a union position in a hospital in Shadyside. A man from Bethel Park who owns a small manufacturing plant says he has an opening and doesn't care about gaps in employment history. But it's the Sunday email that changes everything. It comes from Dr. Sarah Chen at Children's Hospital in Philadelphia. She's read the article. She's reviewed Maya's file. The experimental program has funding from a new grant. They can cover housing in Philadelphia. They can cover the treatment. They can cover Maya. Marcus reads the email 3 times in the shelter's common room, his hands shaking so badly he almost drops the borrowed smartphone. Maya sits beside him, drawing another picture, this one of a house with a red door and flowers in the window boxes. "Dad?" she asks, looking up with eyes that have seen too much. "Why are you crying?" "Because," Marcus says, pulling her close, breathing in the cheap shampoo smell of her hair. "Because sometimes the world surprises you, baby girl. Sometimes it actually surprises you." On the day Marcus and Maya leave for Philadelphia, Eleanor Hastings meets them at the Greyhound station on Liberty Avenue. She brings a gift, a new winter coat for Maya, the right size, warm, purple, Maya's favorite color. But there's something else, a manila envelope. Inside are letters, hundreds of them. Printed emails, handwritten notes on lined paper, cards with drawings from children Maya's age in cities she's never visited. Sacramento, Louisville, Boise, Tallahassee. One letter, written in careful cursive on stationery that smells faintly of lavender, comes from an elderly woman in Spokane, Washington. "Dear Marcus, I don't know you, but I know what it means to choose. 40 years ago, I chose to keep my son alive instead of keeping my home. People judged me then, too. But my son is alive. He's a teacher now in Seattle. He has 2 children of his own. That choice was worth every sleepless night, every cold morning, every moment of shame. You made the right choice. Your daughter will know that. She already knows that. God bless you both." Marcus reads it aloud to Maya on the bus as Pennsylvania Highway rolls past the window. She's wearing her new purple coat, and in her lap is the drawing she finished that morning, A man and a girl, holding hands, standing in front of a building with a red cross on it. At the bottom, in crayon letters, "Daddy is a hero." Brian Castellano doesn't lose his job entirely. The regional manager, a woman who worked her way up from cashier and understands more about struggle than corporate would prefer, gives him an ultimatum. Volunteer at the North Side shelter for 3 months or resign. Brian chooses the shelter, reluctantly at first. Then something shifts. He meets people, real people, not customers or problems or policy violations. People with stories. A veteran from Buffalo who lost his housing after his wife died. A single mother from Allentown working 3 jobs who still can't afford childcare. A teenager from Harrisburg who aged out of foster care with nowhere to go. And slowly, so slowly he barely notices, Brian's understanding of the world cracks open. It doesn't absolve him, it doesn't erase that moment in the grocery store, the disgust in his voice, the cruelty in his judgment, but it makes him different, quieter, more careful with his assumptions. 6 months later, Brian will organize a fundraiser at the grocery store for the North Side shelter. It will raise $14,000. He'll personally deliver the check, and he'll shake hands with people who remember him as the man who once stood in Italian leather shoes and looked down on a father gathering coins from a grocery store floor. They'll accept his apology, not because they forget, but because they understand that people can change, sometimes, if they choose to look. 3 years later, Maya's heart is stronger. Not perfect, never perfect, but strong enough to run, to play, to live without the constant shadow of collapse. The experimental treatment worked. She still takes medication, she always will, but the dosage is manageable, and a new insurance program through Marcus's union job covers it completely. They live in Pittsburgh again, in a small apartment in Lawrenceville. 4th floor walk-up, radiator that clanks through winter nights. But the refrigerator is full now, and Maya's drawings cover every surface. Dragons, princesses, superheroes, and in the center of them all, always, a man in work boots holding a little girl's hand. Marcus still thinks about that moment on the grocery store floor, still feels the cold linoleum against his knees, still hears the disgust in Brian Castellano's voice, but he thinks about what came after more. The kindness of strangers, the letters from cities he's never seen, the doctor who read an article and saw a child worth saving. On Sunday mornings, Marcus and Maya take the bus to Erie. His mother still doesn't remember his name. Alzheimer's is a thief that takes everything, but her face softens when she sees them. Some recognition exists deeper than memory, deeper than names. Maya holds her grandmother's hand and talks about school, about her friends, about the book she's reading about a dragon who learns to be brave. And Marcus watches them both, his daughter with her strong heart, his mother with her fading mind, and he understands that the world called him a failure because the world couldn't see the weight he carried. But he knows the truth, has always known it. Some victories aren't loud. Some battles aren't visible. Some choices that look like weakness are actually the bravest thing a person can do. The bus ride home is quiet. Maya falls asleep against his shoulder, her breath steady and strong. Outside the window, Pittsburgh glows in the twilight, steel bridges spanning dark water, city lights reflecting like fallen stars. Marcus closes his eyes and for the first time in years allows himself to believe in something he thought he'd lost. Tomorrow.